Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final game of day 2 on track 3. We're about to watch the Sitka Sound Slayers take on the Sonoma County Roller Derby Hella Organic Rollers. I'm Scarlett O'Hurtia.
And I'm Dan Under. Welcome.
And we're going to go ahead and run through some rosters real quick. Dan, you want to start us off?
Sure thing. Let's start with Sonoma County Roller Derby. We have number 0, Rowdy Bowdit. Number 05, Jamarai. Number 128, the Boonvillian. 1729, Lucille Balls. 192, Y-Fly. Number 22, Sona. 23, Lethal. 335, The Hotspot. 485, Chica Boom. 50, Shira Badass. 504, Wheezy Anna Slammer. 60, Sasha Buzzkill. 76, Killer Rizmanic. 7950 Renegade, and 87 K-Wow.
And we will get to the Sitka Sound Slayers after we get a chance within a break. But for now, we're to the action on the track where we have the Sitka All-Stars have fielded Wreck Her, and Sonoma County has Jamarai.
And Wreck Her's out with lead to start, but caught up back in the pack after getting lead.
So Sitka in the black, Sonoma in the blue.
Blue with lovely purple highlights.
And Wrecker gets through, grabs 4 points before quickly calling it off. And since Wrecker just came out of that jam, I will go ahead and run through the Sitka Sound Slayers. Number 08, Valkyrie. Number 112, Risky Mistress. 118, Hot Wheels. Number 128, Bruce Pinner. Number 13, Wreck Her. Number 25, Titan Young. 666, Angela Death. Number 710, Leaper. So Sitka with a significantly smaller roster.
Yeah, as you can see here, Wreck Her's out for a second time back-to-back. And up against Wheezy Anna Slammer. And Wreck Her's successful second time in a row with lead jammer.
Very physical pack out on the track, and we've got visits to the penalty box already. That is, I believe that's the hot spot from Sonoma. And Wreck Her approaching on that scoring pass.
Yeah, Lethal living up to their name and recycling Wreck Her a couple of times before managing to get through for a 5-point pass.
And we have a cutting the track penalty being called on Sonoma. That is Wheezy Ann Slamma heading to the penalty box. So we have a power jam for our lead jammer, Wreck Her.
And looks like Sitka's taking full advantage of this. And low block call there on Wreck Her.
Oh, so this will go the full 2 minutes, and Wreck Her taking herself out right as she hits the penalty box. So nice opportunity here for Sonoma to rack up some more points, get themselves on the board. Wheezy Anna Slamma tasked with that, and Sonoma shoving half of Sitka's blockers into the infield.
Yeah, there's only 42 seconds left in the jam when Wreck Her went into the penalty box, so there'll be a few seconds of unopposed, which has just come to an end, and now we have just a few more seconds left in this jam for everyone to score merrily.
Well, Wheezy Anna managed to grab 5 points, so she puts Sonoma on the board.
Yeah, Sitka giving them real trouble at the back of the pack there, though.
We have a direction of gameplay penalty called on Sonoma's number 23, Lethal. Other than that, penalty box clear. Full complement of blockers for Sitka. And as we regroup on the track,
you see Wreck Her out for a third game concurrently. Third jam in a row.
Wow. She's a beast. 3 jams in a row. I mean, I guess that's what you have to do when you have a roster as small as Sitka Sounds.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally the rotation is 1 on, 1 off, but if you're going to do them 3 at a time, will we see 3 in a row from the next jammer in rotation?
Only 10 players total. So this is going to be an exercise in endurance. So take those training sessions seriously, guys. And out on the track, we have a 4-2 pack advantage for Sitka, and they are on a power jam.
Rekka's second power jam.
Louisiana Jamma, who coincidentally was also the jammer in the last jam, out of the penalty box now.
And Lethal back into the penalty box there. Lethal's being lethal on the track, opening up holes, making way, and really inconveniencing the jammer Rekka there a few times in the last few jams. So Sonoma has also been putting out a very shallow rotation at this point.
And Rekka just takes herself out. That's the second time she's done that in 3 jams. I hope the fatigue hasn't set in already. It's a little early for that.
Well, there is a change in jammer, but oh no, I thought Rekka was going to stay out there as block for this jam. But
hey, some people have that energy and ability. I am not one of them.
Nor am I.
So once we get a chance, we will go over our officials for this game. For those of you just tuning in, you are watching the Sitka Sound Slayers taking on the Sonoma County Hella Organic Rollers.
And we've got Renegade up against Angela Death. Angela Death through for lead jammer. That's 4 in a row for Sitka.
And Sitka in the black, Sonoma in the blue with the purple accents. Very small roster for Sitka.
So you'll hear the same names repeated from us quite a bit.
But that's okay.
Just it's further testament to their endurance skills up to this point.
Exactly. Angela Death manages to get past those last 2 Sonoma blockers. Grabs a handful, and the pack is tightly compressed in the straightaway between turn 2 and 3. We've got a pile up now at turn 3.
And Renegade doing planks over a blocker there other than falling on top of them. So another strength and endurance on display out here on the track.
An out of play called by the referee, so Angela Death is forced to go by and is only awarded 3 points on that pass.
And Renegade finally out of the pack. And we'll see what Angela Death's strategy is here. This is the first opportunity we've seen where the Sitka's a run it or call it team.
Looks like 0 points for Sonoma. 1 more for Sitka on jam number 4. For those of you that are just joining us, I'm Scarlett O'Hurtya.
And I'm Dan Under.
And Dan, you want to run through the officials?
Yeah, the officials. Let's talk about the people who get less love than they really deserve, the NSOs. We have the crew today led by Snarkomedes. Also having Loki Doki, Cher Mellis, Masquerade, Rapid Derby Fan, Sod Off, Darby O'Kill, Renstoke, and Justice Deliverer.
Back on the track, we have number 22 for Sonoma. That is Sonar, jamming against Wrecker once again. So Wrecker jamming in 3 out of the 5 jams we've now seen. I'm sorry, 4 out of the 5 jams we are now looking at. And she's had lead jammer every time except now. This is Sonoma's first shot at lead jammer status, but they are off to the races.
May not be believed, but Wrecker is out in front. Sonoma realizing the clock's not on their side, calling the jam early and saving themselves some extra clock time for later in the period where it might be more useful.
So the only score for Sonoma thus far came from... I had her name and then I lost it. Way to go, me. I believe that was Jam Her Eye? No, that was the first one. Renegade, that's who it was. Renegade was the one that scored some points.
And right now we have Wi-Fly up against Wrecker again, so that's 3 on, 1 off, 2 on.
And I was wrong. It was Wheezy Anna Slamma.
That's
just getting used to all these rosters. We've got so much derby going on. It's all starting to blur together.
So many teams, so many names.
All the derby. And Wrecker grabs lead jammer status. Perfect in that regard. Risky Mistress heading to the penalty box. Sitka with 3 blockers in the box simultaneously, so they will start this next jam with a pack disadvantage. And it's got to say something when Sonoma is able to send out a fresh pack every time. However, the scoreboard would not reflect that, Dan.
It's true. The endurance and the good timing there. They managed to hold on. Sitka managed to hold on to the jam just long enough to get an extra blocker out of there. So it's 2 on, 2 off. And Scarlett, who would you bet would be jamming right now for Sitka?
If I were a gambling woman, I would say it's probably Wrecker.
And you would collect on that one. It's Wrecker up against a new jammer for Sonoma, Rowdy Bowdit.
But the odds would be really not in my favor, so I really wouldn't win a whole lot of money. I'd actually probably lose some. But we're not encouraging gambling, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's all about the game, not the money you might make from it. Right?
I am actually really impressed by the crowd that has gathered here for this game. We've got a very big game going on another track, so we're excited, all of you viewers at home that are tuning in here as well. We are watching the Sonoma County Hella Organic Rollers taking on the Sitka Sound Slayers. Sitka in the black, Sonoma in the blue, and I promise I'll quit saying that. It's just because it's beginning.
And Sitka calling off the jam for another 4 points, freezing out Sonoma one more time. And who do we have lining up? Yet again, 3 on, and Wrecker decides to take another drop. So it's 3 on with Wrecker, Angela Death for 1, 3 on with the Wrecker, Angela Death for 1. Not that patterns are important. However, Louisiana Slammer is on track for Sonoma, the only jammer to score so far. Let's see if that trend continues.
Nice lateral movement to the outside by Louisiana Slammer. But Angela Death did manage to grab lead jammer status right there at the beginning. As both jammers were off to the races side by side. Oh, see, this is why patterns don't matter, because you can mix it up at any point, and that's what we're seeing right here.
Yeah, I bet your record saying, I want to go out there. I've had my 1 jam rest. It was 20 seconds worth of jam. Maybe that's not quite long enough.
Yeah.
No. 20 seconds is barely enough to catch my breath.
Score is currently 46-3. Sitka in the lead.
Yeah. Renegade out again for Sonoma.
And that is Angela Death choosing to go in a second time in a row for Sitka.
Calling a mulligan on that last jam and having another go.
And as we are looking at the action on the track, looks like Sonoma was approaching that pack and grabbed 4 points before the jam was called. So even though Angela Death had control of that clock, didn't call it off very quickly. And now we are regrouping, heading into jam number 10. 4 points for Sonoma on that last one, 1 for Sitka. And 47-7 with little under 18 minutes left here in the first half. Who's jamming, Dan?
Well, we have Wrecker here up against Sonar again.
Full complement of blockers for Sonoma. Sitka down 2.
Yeah, bit of penalty trouble out there for Sonoma, but doesn't stop them as Sonar gets out in front, gets lead jammer, and maintains the pace of Wrecker, which has been troublesome for Sonoma so far today.
So she is the only one that has taken lead jammer status away from Sitka in all of our jams so far. I'm curious to see if her pack is responsive in a way that can detain Wrecker, because she's been a key point scorer for Sitka, and allow her to score any points. But right now, it just looks like they're racing around the track.
I think they're slowly making space back on Sonar, and almost one of the Sitka pivot as well.
Looks like Sonar trying to decide if she wants to call it off, because she is the lead jammer, but she's not currently the jammer in the lead. She's about 40 or 50 feet behind Wrecker, and opts to call it off before Wrecker can put any points on the board.
Yeah, that's wise choice.
I think what the pack was doing there in that last round was an interesting strategy, because Wrecker is looking winded, and if they keep sending her out this consistently, they need to tire her out early on.
Yeah, I mean, that's built into their bench strategy as well. They've got 2 people with strong endurance. They wear one down, then they put one out for a bit longer. And I mean, you've got to have, with a short roster, you've got to figure out how to manage that move.
So out on the track right now, we have an official review being called by Sitka. Who is this official review brought to us by?
This official review is brought to us by Hit This. Derby Gear has everything you need to get rolling, from skates, protective gear, and unmatched services for all your derby needs. Before you hit the track, hit this.
47-7, 16 minutes and some change left on the board. We are heading into jam number 11, and an official review currently underway. Now, Dan, are you noticing anything between these two teams that would be a make or break other than the size of the roster and therefore needing to send the same players out time and time again? Is there anything unique or special about what you're seeing so far that would be a game changer?
No, not particularly, other than Sitka has had what looks like relatively consistent penalty trouble coming into the box, coming out of the box. Their endurance shows
The
through.
Sitka All-Stars are requesting a low block penalty on the blue jammer.
So we know the mics haven't been linked into our feed so far, so we're going to explain what that official review was. And it seems that they're requesting a low block on the Sonoma jammer. The referees are conferring. Our head ref, Landon Flatt. And who else is on that zebra crew?
Well, the referees tonight, Landon Flatt with the Tipsy Moo, Rolling Rat, Kylo Ref, Pete in the Pool, Doesn't Matter, and Admiral Mayhem.
And we are waiting for the official word from Landon Flatt, the head referee. My words have run away, and yet they still give me a microphone. It's been a long day. It's been a long weekend. It's a lot of derby here at Big O.
Indeed. It's been a busy weekend for all of us. There's been a lot of long games, a lot of people really putting their all, leaving it all on the track, in some cases quite literally.
Yes, indeed. We want to remind everybody that right around the corner, we've got the WFTDA Continental Cups. They're going to produce the best in the region through a competitive bracket. And this year, the Continental Cup Series is going to be hosted in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and we're going to hear now from Landon Flatt.
Sitka will not. The no call will stand, and Sitka will not retain their review.
Okay, so the no call stands, and Sitka will not retain its review with 16 minutes left in the first half. So as I was saying, the Continental Cup Series will be hosted in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Omaha, Nebraska, and Birmingham in the UK. You can find out more at WFTDA.com. Now out on the line, a new jammer for Sonoma, number 192, Wi-Fi. And guess who for Sitka? That's Wrecker.
Promise I'm not looking, and that was going to be my answer.
And Wrecker gets lead jammer status. Maybe that official review is just an excuse to give her a breather. And she hits a very still pack, very tight pack, right as Wi-Fi approaches the pack. And no points for Sonoma on that one, but Wrecker manages to grab a couple, make that 3 for the Sitka All-Stars. Sitka currently at 50 points.
And line up yet again, we have Wrecker. This time up against Rowdy About It. And both jammers out right in front, close to each other, but it is Wrecker who takes the honors. And the pack yet again speeds up. This seems to be, I think both teams have a significant endurance. They're certainly giving it a good amount of beans out there. And Wrecker decided they weren't going to get very far. Called it off, 0 points each.
These jams are going so quickly. I'm not able to keep track of my independent stat keeping here. And I know that you looked up some information on these two teams. So where are they ranked? Are they competitive? Is this what we can expect?
Well, this is certainly within a competitive range. When we start looking at Sonoma County, they're ranked 185 right now. That's down 9 places on their last rankings. And Sitka is ranked at 143, which is down 1. So both teams are in a rough competitive range.
And just like that, we have Louisiana Slamma sent to the penalty box for a forearm penalty. No lead jammer, so we got the full 2 minutes. I'm sure Wrecker is probably not super stoked to hear that, but holy cow, what a physicality she brings to the table with a smile on her face after taking out Sonoma's lone blocker on the track.
About to be joined by some support, but I'm not sure that's going to stop Wrecker too much at this moment.
That was the hotspot who was the recipient of that very solid.
And going in for round 2, saying, no, you didn't get me this time. Wrecker still managed to get past, but got a couple of good solid thumps in before getting...
Louisiana Jam, a nice footwork there, staying inbounds on that inside line.
Yeah.
And we've got points for Wrecker, 15 so far on this jam alone.
Another 52 seconds to run. We'll see how high that score goes.
5 more points for Wrecker. And she is now toying with Louisiana Slamma, who is right behind her. 5 points on that last pass. Total of 20 for the Sitka All-Stars thus far in this jam. Can't call it off because there's no lead jammer.
Coach yells that call it and denied.
Sitka at both teams actually short a blocker in the penalty box. And as both Wrecker and Louisiana Slamma hit that box, it looks like Wrecker is going to get called for look like an elbow penalty.
Yep, forearm there as you lean forward, got a bit tired. Maybe this is fatigue starting to show.
And we're a little over halfway through the first half, so if fatigue is already setting in, we're in trouble.
Yeah, well, Wrecker has skated in 23 jams of the 500 we've had so far this period.
Oh, you exaggerate, Dan. Except not really.
Not really.
I mean, if you look at fractions,
it's in
not
metric.
Unrealistic. That's the problem. You're using the metric system, which makes so much more sense, but we don't use it.
So apart from all the confusion it causes, it's much more sensible. That's right.
So out on the jam line, new jammer for Sonoma. Who is that?
That's Renegade, and there's a jammer in the box already.
That's right. Who do you think that is? Wrecker. Wrecker is in the penalty box.
Yeah.
And Reckless Renegade, so lots of W's out on the track right now.
Yeah, Renegade's been out once before as jammer, if I recall.
Oh, no, you're correct. Just, I can't keep track because the jams have been, for the most part, quite short. We are in jam number 14.
2,000 centi jams now.
Lead jammer status did go to Sonoma on that one, so get signaled from the bench to call it off.
Gets those 4 points, and at this point, you could run it or you could try to tire out their jammer a bit more. I'm not sure how much luck that they had with that so far.
I mean, they sent her to the box, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, that's showing small little bit dents in their armor.
You got to start somewhere because right now it's Sitka at 70, Sonoma at 18. There's a significant deficit. It's not insurmountable, but there is a deficit right now. It looks like we have a familiar face jamming now.
And Angela Death going to the penalty box for a forearm, it looked like. And that gives Sonar first lead jam of the night for her.
Pack going at a pretty medium pace. It seems to be just right for Sonoma because they're able to make some movement there. And Sonar takes a grand slam on her first scoring pass, now on her second scoring pass.
Sitka's having a lot more success holding them back, keeping those chained walls together, and forcing now 3 recycles on Sonar.
Full complement of blockers for both teams.
And a full complement of jammers as Angela Death hits the back wall for Sonoma. And gets knocked into the infield and threw back out onto the track again.
It's quite interesting to me how Sonoma has not provided any offensive assistance even when the other jammer was in the box. And typically, you know, when you have that one job, I know they want to be prepared, don't want to get caught off guard by Angel of Death. But that, I mean, if it were me, that's what I probably would do.
Yeah, I mean, every time you switch modes from offense to defense, that's going to chip away at your endurance and maybe leave an opening, because they've seen that the Sitka jammers have a way of actually forcing their way through. So you want to keep those braces there. Perhaps that's one way of keeping the scoring lower.
Looks like we had a grand slam for Sonoma County. 2 of them that time, 70-28. Sitka still held scoreless and have been for a fair amount of time.
Yeah, the last couple of jams have shown a real momentum shift for Sonoma. And Rowdy Bowdit's out again, this time against a jam we've not seen before for Sitka, Wrecker.
You got jokes, Dan. Dan's got jokes. And this is a new-ish jammer. Oh, no, this is a totally new jammer for Sonoma. That is number 0, Rowdy Bowdit.
And Rowdy picks up 4 points, getting lead from Wrecker and picking up 4-0 advantage for Sonoma. That's 3 in a row scoring for Sonoma.
So this is where the spread starts to close just a little bit. And this is where the endurance comes in handy as well. So Sitka still has all 3 of their timeouts and calls for 1 to be utilized. So this timeout is brought to us by who?
By the WFTDA. 2018 WFTDA Continental Cups, again, will be juiced in the best in the region throughout a competitive bracket. This first year, the Continental Cup Series will be hosted in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Omaha, Nebraska, and Birmingham, United Kingdom. Find out more on WFTDA.com.
For those of you that are watching at home, you can talk to us on the production side using the hashtag #TalkToWFTDA. However, we would love to hear from you with the official Big O hashtags. Send pictures of your pets enjoying the Big O from home. Use the hashtag BigOCats and hashtag BigODogs. We love to see our furry fans.
Indeed, for those of you like me without a cat or a dog, but instead other pets, Big O Pets will find its way to us eventually.
Wait. What bigger pets do you have?
Big O Pets.
Oh, Big O Pets. Oh, okay. See, you said you don't have a cat or a dog, and I thought you were meaning you have something larger. And I mean, you're an Aussie, so I don't want to make any assumptions, but
well, it does eat a lot, and no one comes around to my house for dinner anymore.
Wait a minute here. Are you feeding unruly dinner guests to your pet?
Well, I'm not, as if you're saying that as if I have any control over that.
I mean, if he's your pet, just saying. Anyway, back to the action on the track. The pack is currently trying to eat up Sonoma County's jammer, number 192, Y-Fly. And big surprise, Wrecker is jamming for Sitka and has grabbed lead jammer status yet again.
Yeah, and that 1.5 timeout, that's about the same as 4 or 5 jams, so that's a really good rest period for Wrecker.
That's a luxury at this point.
Luxury.
4 points for Wrecker. And Sonoma held scoreless.
And that point gap has really closed since earlier this period. 74-32 for Sitka in the lead.
I think the killer was really, jam number 3, where Sitka actually had a 14-point jam courtesy of Wrecker. That's really when it started to widen pretty significantly. Sonoma's chipping away at that point spread, but it's little by little. Their highest point scores they've had thus far was a 10-point jam just a little while ago by number 22, Sonar. But right now, who is our jammer, Dan?
Well, we have Louisiana Slammer out again for Sonoma, and they've managed to successfully beat Wrecker to lead and scoring a natural grand slam there. Wrecker being successfully held back in the pack. Of course, now that I've said that, Wrecker is now out on their first scoring trip. But Louisiana Slammer on their second. Call it
Sonoma speeding up pretty significantly, but Wrecker able to match that with no problem.
Yeah, Louisiana Slammer tried to call off the jam, but they'd already been assessed a cut call, so the jam continues, and now Sonoma County Jammer is in the box.
Lots of yelling going on the track, mainly from Sitka's bench, oddly enough.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to turn this into their advantage. I mean, having the Sonoma County Jammer in the penalty box when they were just starting to build up momentum, that's got to really damage the ability for Sonoma to really claw back before the end of the jam, which is only end of the period, only 5.5 minutes remaining.
So 5 points for Wrecker on that last scoring pass. And we are going to go the full 2 minutes because Louisiana Slammer had been sent to the penalty box. Wrecker hitting the tripod of Sonoma blockers in the front with some conviction.
Landon Flat said no pack, and Sonoma County said we don't care, and Wrecker said I don't care either, and just blew straight through.
Bring it. Fight me.
It was Broughton.
And now both jammers back into the fray. Wrecker finds a very large amount of space on the outside by which she was able to sling around. And the jam is called for time. And Sitka racked up 18 points on that jam.
Sonoma County 9, so although that wasn't Sonoma's jam that they were hoping to get, it wasn't bad.
It was significant, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's their highest scoring jam, I believe.
No, that was
10 points.
about 3 jams ago. Yeah, but it was close. It was close. So 19-9 on the last jam, and now in jam number 19. Who do we have donning the stars?
Well, Scarlett, we have Angela Death and Renegade. Renegade makes it through the outside. Meanwhile, poor Angela Death being knocked to the outfield and to the infield and to the outfield again. Angela's looking a bit frustrated out there. Meanwhile, Renegade freely scoring pass.
Nice 3-wall in the front, holding back Angela Death. Or Angela Death. I don't know why I said Angela. Risky Mistress holding back the Sonoma blockers. And Renegade manages to get through, grab 5 points, and call it off before Angel can put any points on the board.
Yep, and there's some confusion. Who's going? Oh, Angela Death had the star.
We're playing musical helmet covers. Just.
Yep, and when the music stops, who's the jammer? It is.
Hot potato. No, you. No, you. No, you.
You know, and other teams I've seen, it was like, I don't want to jam, you jam. I don't want to jam, you jam. Yeah. Here it was, I want to jam, I want to jam. No, I want to jam. Yeah. Now we have Sonar out again. Sonar was a quick out onto the lead. Meanwhile, Wrecker has slowed down a lot from the earlier we've seen them in the period.
Go figure. She's only been in 100 jams so far, even though we're only in jam number 20.
But Sonar managed to grab a couple of quick points before Wrecker gets around, keeping Sitka scoreless.
Now, Sonar is the person who has the highest point total for a single jam for Sonoma so far in this game. She had 10 points, and that's been Sonoma's highest scoring jam so far. Now, this is a jammer we haven't seen a whole lot of on the Sonoma side.
Nope, I bet she's rowdy about it. But managed to sneak through on the inside and get the lead. And
Wrecker once again donning that jammer star for Sitka. And lead jammer Rowdy About It decides to call it off before Wrecker can get any points. She puts 4 on the board for Sonoma, and slowly but surely that point spread is closing. And we have a minute and a half left on the period clock. We are heading into jam number 22. These are familiar faces out on the track.
Yeah, here we have Guess Who? And up against Louisiana Slammer again.
You know, we keep giving props to Wrecker for being the consistent, constant most frequently jammed jammer on the Sitka side, but Wheezy's been punching her clock today, man.
Yeah, and managing to keep the race up, even though Wrecker is out very quick. There was a lot of hold-up, but managed to get through just to put the pressure on. Wrecker forced to call it off, 3 points to 2. So not as swiftly on the call-off as previous.
They still take 1 extra point ahead of their opponent now at 96, Sonoma at 54.
So if you want to do some basic or some fractional maths there, Sonoma County actually came out on top in that jam on a ratios basis.
See, I was like, wait, but 3 points and 2 points. This doesn't make sense. But no, you're correct. Wrecker, big surprise, jamming once again. I think she's just a glutton for punishment at this point.
I'm just waiting for period 2 to see if they bring someone else out who's just going to be another machine.
I don't know. She might be bionic. I don't know how she can have the endurance to play in half of the jams here in the first half and still get lead and still score points.
Yeah, and yet here we have the evidence before our eyes. If only we had like an x-ray machine, we could see if there was any moving parts, machinery on the inside.
I'm going to take a metal detector. Does that work on body parts? Really not sure.
Not the ones that are grown.
Wrecker calling it off after grabbing 4 more points on that last scoring pass for a total of 9. And Sitka passes the century mark. We are now at 105 to 54, and we are at intermission. So any thoughts before we head into halftime, Dan?
No, I was just looking at the lazy way that Wrecker finished that jam, just sort of smoothly set up in the jammer spot again after scoring all those points and saying, nah, I'm good.
Well, you know, I think she has earned the right to be lazy every once in a while. I think she has more than earned that break. But we are going to take a break as well. We will be back to you in about 8 minutes. Don't go far. All right, and we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Scarlett O'Hurtia.
And I'm Dan Under.
And we are now coming to the second half of the Sitka All-Stars taking on the Sonoma County Hella Organic Rollers. That is the most California name I think I've ever heard. It's so great.
This is not the totally in there.
Totally
so
so
sure.
Organic Rollers. No, Hella's totally a West Coast thing. Anyways, before we could get into any other information, Wrecker just jumped out in front and grabbed lead jammer.
Yeah, up against Rowdy Bowdit. Now that answers the question I had at the beginning of the period of whether Wrecker would come in and be the mainstay for Sitka again this period. It looks like we're off to a start. And collecting 4-0. And skating around, not even looking at a bench, saying, nope, I'm going to go up again. That's...
She just made the decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The coach is just looking at the track going...
That is the most chill bench coach I have ever seen in my life. Basically, the bench looks like his couch right now.
Yeah.
He's just chilling. He's like, yeah, you girls got it. Go for it.
Derby's happening around him more than with him.
He's not driving it. The skaters are. Hey, buy the skaters for the skaters, right?
Uh-huh.
Speaking of which, who are our skaters with the stars on their helmets right now?
Louisiana Slammers out there and stealing lead from Wrecker. Looks like Sonoma's got a penalty out of that, so there was probably a bit of a aggressive assist there to get Louisiana Slammer out, but out she is. And scoring well, running up along the inside there, calling it off just before, Wrecker just managed to steal 3 points, sneak them in there right at the end of the jam there.
It's always the sneak at the end you got to be mindful of, right?
Yeah, they've been really pretty good so far this game of calling things off just before the opponent scores. This is the second time that I've noted that the other team managed to sneak in some points just at the end of that.
So I'm going to go over some stuff that happened in the first half momentarily, but I think it warrants noting that I'll get to that in a minute, because right now the whistle blew and we are underway in jam number 3 already here in the second half.
Yeah, Renegade being given some trouble by Sitka right at the back there. A bit too aggressive of the wall there as they're being assessed multiplayer block. And Renegade really charging up around, trying to catch up to catch up to Rekka, who really sees it coming, calls it off this time, only for 1 point. But the important thing there, calling it off before the score comes in. And Mr. Chill coach out there having a few words, saying, from my comfortable couch over here in my living room,
my
I saw
comfortable
this.
metal couch over here. So what I was saying is, in the first half, we've talked about before that Sitka is fielding a significantly smaller roster, but they are responsible for literally 50% of the penalties that Sonoma has. Sonoma with 26 penalties in the first half, Sitka with 13. So overall playing pretty safe, but only doing so with, I believe, 8 players is what they actually have rostered. And while I was talking about penalties, somebody else was making their way around the track.
Yeah, Sona once ahead, getting ahead of Rekka, and Rekka sent out for a cut. Sonoma dropping back to really give Rekka some trouble early on there. Got an out of play warning, had to collapse the thing. They were really stretching it to 20 feet as far as they could. This time they managed to trap her in a cut at the front. And Sona coming through again for another scoring pass, riding on the coattails of their teammate.
Quite literally.
Quite literally there in turn 2.
Grand slam.
Giving the I'm coming in, make a whole hand signal. I'm guessing that's what that means. Certainly that's the effect it's having.
It just looks like to me that she's at her metal show.
Oh. Yeah, well,
rock on.
Rock on. That's a good way of putting it. Sona now being stalled. Nothing worse than the stalls at a metal show, I'm sure.
The what?
At the stalls at a metal show. I can't imagine that would be very
gotcha.
So Sona running it down as far as possible. Rekka is out and going to start scoring. So Sona, given the signal from their coach, calls it off.
Sonar with 14 points on that jam.
That's really closing the gap there.
That may actually change because I see the ref holding up some hands. I don't know if he already put the points on the board. And we have an official review out in the center of the track. And I love that the referees now have that microphone so they can actually explain to us what's going on, because that's always good to have knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Truth bombs dropped on us from a microphone.
And then, but we'll just don't really drop the mic, refs, FYI. We need those. We still have a full day of Big O action to get to tomorrow. But this official timeout, meanwhile, is brought to us by
Rydell. Big O is brought to you and in part by the acclaimed Rydell Solaris. Solaris, the performance you demand, the comfort you've been missing. Rydell.
So in terms of penalties, that was something that we saw a fair bit of in the first half. And the penalties are really much more significant on the Sonoma side than they are on the Sitka side, if I didn't properly communicate that previously. And so 26 penalties for Sonoma in the first half. One player in danger right now with 5 penalties, and this is at the end of the first half. I haven't been tracking them subsequently, but 5 penalties in the first half for one player and 3 players with 4 penalties. So this could get a bit dodgy here, but Sonoma has players to spare, for want of a better term.
Certainly if it was the other way around and Sitka was in that sort of penalty trouble, it would be a different story in terms of threat level.
And I've got to point out, okay, so everybody here at the tournament, the teams have to pick an MVP per game so that they can all play in the MVP bout that's going to take place on Sunday night, featuring 40 MVPs. There's a junior game, there's an adult game, and if Record doesn't get that MVP for this game, then everybody is broken, because she's literally out on the track right now, and it's going to be her 5th jam in a row as the jammer. It's insane.
And she's just everyone else in their team standing down casually, looking like they're waiting for the jam to start. But Rekko's just sitting there, aggressive start stance, almost as if they're in the starting blocks.
Let's go, guys. Let's go.
I'm ready. Bring it.
So 14 points for Sonoma on that last jam. Sitka was held scoreless, I should say. And hopefully our referee will grab the microphone.
Sitka requested a blocking with the head call on the blue jammer in the previous jam, and the contact was primarily with the shoulder, and no blocking with the head call will be assessed, and Sitka will not retain their official review.
All right. Well, and actually, I think you're right that maybe we can hear that a bit better on the stream, but just for the sake of clarity, you want to relay what was said?
Absolutely. For those of you just to be sure, for those of you who didn't hear, we had a request from Sitka about a blocking with the head or head block call against the jammer, but the contact wasn't with the head, primarily coming in with the shoulder. There was a bit of incidental head contact, which is allowed within the rules. No call will stand, and they do not retain their review for this period.
Meanwhile, back out on the track, Wrecker jamming for Sitka, but is now being sent to the penalty box for a forearm penalty, which means there's a golden opportunity here for Sonoma.
And Wi-Fly snatches the golden snitch. No, wait, wrong spot.
Well, that was the hand motion she was making.
If someone comes out with a broom, I think we call shenanigans.
Done. I have actually seen Quidditch played on a, like in real life. People have to run with a broom between their legs. It's kind of awkward.
There's a whole league.
No, there really is. I've seen it happen. Meanwhile, Wi-Fly is not playing Quidditch. She is playing roller derby and is racking up some points for Sonoma, who is still behind, but not too far.
And Sitka showing the endurance and fortitude they've showed all game, and the blockers at the front, they're really giving Wi-Fly a lot of trouble. They're inching forward.
Oh, and Wrecker being sent back to the penalty box, this time for a back blocking penalty. And I'm going to have to look at that chart from the first half. I'm curious to see how many she went in with.
Yeah, in the meantime, Wi-Fly picked up another 5 points. Calling the jam at the urging of the coach. That's setting themselves up with almost 30 seconds worth of power start there.
All right, so in the first half, Wrecker had 2 penalties, so that's actually not that bad. And then we know she grabbed 2 in that jam alone. I can't recall if she had one in any of the previous jams, but now she's got at least 4, and she is the jammer for Sitka for the most part.
Yeah, and if this fatigue level's cause of the extra penalties, then this will only escalate, and even if there is another 3 penalties remaining, that's not a lot of runway left for them this period. They do have 23 minutes and a change remaining.
Oh, now we're going to have the tables turned a little bit because Rowdy Bout It, the jammer for... joking. She was skating outside. She thought she had sustained a penalty, but she did not. That goes to Angel of Death.
Yeah, this brings Rowdy Bout It all the way back to the start the initial pass again. This gives Wrecker a chance to come through. Lead jammer is available, and
they're both eligible at this point.
Up until now. Now one has been claimed, but Wrecker is through the pack already. Didn't really have much of an opposition from Sonoma.
Nice duck around the outside there by Rowdy Bout It. Manages to dodge the entire pack, grab a grand slam, and call it off.
Yep, 5-0 there, collecting the penalty point for Wrecker.
Score is currently 113-82. For those of you just tuning in, you are watching the Sitka All-Stars take on the Sonoma County Hella Organic Rollers. Sitka in the black, Sonoma in the blue. I'm Scarlett O'Hurtya.
And I'm Dan Under. I'm just watching the coach for Sitka come through. Wrecker is so keen to stay on the track that she's not even going to the bench to get a glass of water.
No, I'm not. Not going to do it.
No.
If I stop, I will die. It's one of those, you have to keep moving.
It's like a shark on the derby, a derby shark.
Derby shark, do.
Almost released a little fin on the jam.
Oh my God, she totally does. We need to suggest that to them.
So Louisiana Slammer there, knocked to the outside, sees Wrecker coming up for a scoring pass, calls it off, but doesn't quite walk away with any points there, but more importantly, does deny Sitka any of those points.
Okay, this is ridiculous. Wrecker has been in literally every single jam so far this half, consecutively. 7 jams in a row, now we're going to make it 8.
Put me in,
She
coach.
can't be human.
Put me in, coach. I'm fine.
I'm fine, really. No, it'll grow back. It's fine.
And we have Renegade, who is up against the machine that is Wrecker.
Machine.
A lot of W's.
Yes, there are a lot of W's in this game.
Brought to you by WFTDA.
Today's game brought to you by the letter W.
For
We've got
wonderful athletes.
Forearm called on Sonoma's jammer. That is Renegade. She's being sent to the box. And Wrecker grabs lead jammer status for the first time since jam number 3, but in her defense, this is her 8th jam in a row.
Oh, dancing to the outside line. Disappointed in herself there. She clearly sees. Put a toe stop out. Not quite keeping it clean enough. All the OPR said no.
That's her 5th penalty. She's starting to get into trouble here, and when you get tired, you get sloppy, and that's just what happens.
So 3 penalties in 8 jams. That means, at this rate, foul out happening around jam 13, which will still leave us with about half the period to go.
We're in jam number 8.
Yeah.
We're in jam number 8, and we aren't even 10 minutes into the half. That's how short these have been.
And let's look forward to breaking the stats book by putting 3,000 jams in this.
Right, exactly. So that being said, there's actually a lot of really impressive blocking going on the track. We've got Sitka in a box formation, a tripod being sustained by Sonoma. Wrecker gets through for 4 points on that first scoring pass. And Wrecker now on a scoring pass. And Reckless Renegade, who also uses W for Renegade, grabbing 4 points of her own. Ooh, apex jump attempt.
But denied, landed in on their knees on the infield, which can't be pleasant. Certainly sounded painful from here.
It did. You could hear the crunching, which is never really a fun sound.
Yeah, my knees do that, but that's because I'm old.
That's just nature telling you, no, don't play derby. And it looks like a total of 13 points for Wrecker on that jam. Oh, my goodness. Time has stopped.
The coach is out of his comfy couch, I think he's told.
Pigs will start flying.
No,
The apocalypse is nigh. Angel of Death is taking over as the jammer for Sitka here in the 9th jam of the second half.
And the other 3 horsemen of the apocalypse are coming
in. Wrecker, and Wrecker.
That's right. And we can detect them all using sonar, who is skating for Sonoma.
Nicely done, sir.
And Angel of Death gets a no pass, no penalty out of the pack first, but not lead jammer, leaving Sonar to find their way using all their talents through the pack.
And presumably Sonar.
I imagine there's some noises going on out there right now. But
nice offensive assist there. Sonoma sending in one of their blockers. Oh, I feel so bad when I can't see their numbers, but they're not that big.
And from this angle, you just can't. Like from the front, they should have numbers on the front.
See, I suggested socks, like really big on the socks, because you can usually see the legs in the middle of the mix. But it was number 485, I believe, that was providing that offensive assist to Sonar. That is Chica Boom. Sonar did grab lead jammer status and is now on a scoring pass. We've got whistles being blown for a direction of gameplay penalty on Sitka.
And Sonar makes it out, giving a rather less enthusiastic horn sign to their coach than before. The wind's knocked out, but she's willing to keep going.
It's like Ozzy Osbourne and Mick Jagger. They just keep going.
Hopefully they have different ways of being motivated.
Yeah, it's called drugs. But anyway, these players out here don't need that. They're running on adrenaline right now. And Sonar gets through for 5 points on that first scoring pass. Angel of Death came back into the action, but then went right back to the box.
And there's a lot of penalty trouble here on both teams. Sonoma has seen the worst of it, however. And now Sonar calls it off after freeing one of their blockers. So they're starting with their pivot in the box. But this is at 16 minutes remaining, so we've had 14 minutes of this jam, of this period, and a whole other period of hard derby.
That might have been the longest jam so far in this half. I didn't really see, but it felt like it.
it felt long, and we saw a lot of people go to the box, and I think they're feeling tired, they're skating slower, everything's just going to seem a bit longer. But Rowdy Bowdit is out here for Sonoma and gets through with lead, showing a bit of get up and go as Angela Death comes out of the penalty box, coming in behind.
Sonoma here in this half, 70% of the jams have gone to them in terms of lead jammer status. Angela Death back into the action on the tracks, trying to juke her way around, but she is on her initial pass.
Yeah, and Rowdy's on scoring trip, but the Sitka blockers up front are really giving her trouble. As the pack stretches around,
the Boone villain forces Angela Death out of bounds and forces Angel to recycle. Nice footwork there. Good track awareness by Rowdy Bowdit, grabbing a grand slam on that pass.
And Sonoma really giving Angel a lot of trouble. Run backs through the straightaways and the corners and just saying a whole lot of nope.
Nope.
Not today.
Nice tripod formation by Sitka.
Now,
small but mighty they are on the roster size anyway.
Indeed. Now Sonoma went back trying to reform that wall to keep Angel down, but that happened to destroy the pack, putting themselves in even more perilous penalty trouble. Though, as you pointed out earlier, they do have the warm bodies to spare.
Well, warm bodies aside, the footwork that we're seeing, it's not just about throwing more people out there, but Sonoma really in some penalty trouble, but Rowdy Bowdit is showing us some fabulous footwork, having to get through an entire pack of Sitka blockers all by her lonesome. And she doesn't seem to be having too much trouble with that.
Yeah, a couple of good scoring passes or trips already this jam. And another 3 there. 13 points in total, completely blocking out Sitka.
109 to 129, closing that gap. Only 20 points separating these two teams. Math is so not my forte. But yeah, I'm fairly positive. 129 minus 109 is 20, right? Right?
Yeah, I concur. And official review call.
Just under 14 minutes left in this game.
So the official review being called by...
Official timeout being called, I think.
Official timeout.
I think Kills is off to see the medics, so that's probably something like blood on the track, so they have to stop
then
play.
we have to clean things, and that's no fun. But either way, we are grateful that our medics are here. We are grateful that we have very diligent officials on the track who notice these things and force our skaters to take care of themselves, because if they didn't, Wrecker would still be jamming. Oh, look, she's back.
Back again. Up against an old friend, Louisiana Slammer.
You know what? I think, honestly, the only reason she took 2 jams off was because Angela Death ended up in the box. Otherwise, she would have been back out here.
I didn't look at the penalty box between jams to see whether Wrecker was out there trying to sneak into the penalty box saying, it's me, it was me all the time.
She puts like a mustache on. Just kidding, guys. It's not. No. My name is Wreck him.
Yeah, Monsieur Wrecker. I am entirely someone else.
Pay no attention. Back to the action on the track. While we were joking about false identities, we have a lead jammer now.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it isn't Wrecker. It is Louisiana Slammer, who has had a pretty good record as jammer. But Sonoma County is really having a bottle of trouble. They had some pack definition issues just before, and that's really left them with, well, now actually only 1 blocker on the track.
So Louisiana Slammer, it warrants noting that so she's smaller in stature than most of these players. I mean, she can't be 5 feet tall, and can squeeze through some pretty small spaces, and that's exactly what she did. She literally was running, and not on her toe stops, but full on her skates around the curve between turn 1 and turn 2, and was not touched by a single person. Great agility there.
Yeah, being able to spot those lines and sticking to them. That's skill, strength, discipline again.
So on that last jam, we have 4 all for both teams, 133 to 113, still with 20 points separating these two. We have a team timeout called by Sonoma.
Yeah, they were trying to do some substitutes for skaters, and given they've got 3 blockers in the box, now 2 blockers in the box as one is released.
So it warrants noting, I think earlier in the broadcast, I said that Sitka had fielded 10 players. That's a lie. They actually only have 8 that are out on the track. They sustained a couple of injuries, and some of their other players are not here. So that's why we're seeing Wrecker playing, 9 out of 10 jams so far in this half. And that's even heavier than what she did in the first half. She actually handed off scoring duties a few times to Angel of Death, but Angel of Death has only been out there one time, really. It just carried over into another jam because of a penalty.
Yeah, I think the halftime speech is normally, come on team, get out there and do it. And I think Wrecker might have told the coach, just shut up and let me skate with you.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just, Wrecker, don't die.
Don't die.
Don't
Please
die.
Don't die. And Wrecker is lead.
Doing anything but dying. In fact, she's flourishing as the lead jammer, but Sonoma has other plans. They're speeding things up a fair bit.
Yep, trying to draw out this jam long enough that they can actually get more of their people out of the penalty box. So they've got 1 blocker left they've got the pivot in there who's just reported in saying they've got 2 seconds remaining. So that's a really good job of racing the pack forward, stretching out and killing that penalty.
So even though Wrecker was lead jammer, Sonoma managed to grab 2 points. So that clock awareness and that clock maintenance is something that is just as important as running through fast and scoring some points. So Sonoma creeping up, 18 points separating these 2 teams. We are heading into jam number 13 with 11 and a half minutes left in the game.
Yeah, we have Wi-Fly being stuck at the back of the pack on Sonoma's side, but the Sonoma County blockers are giving Wrecker a lot of trouble at the front. And we have a whole bunch of whistles going on. And Angela Death sent out for a multiplayer block, but that somehow leaves the way open, and Wi-Fly out a good half length ahead of Angela Death with Wrecker with lead jammer, but then hits the wall of Sitka blockers and just gets stopped dead. Grabs no points in the end. Wedges in between, but doesn't quite pass the hips. Now, even if you get the skates past or most of your body past, if the hips don't pass, it doesn't count.
The hips don't lie. They don't, Dan.
They do not.
And I love how Sonoma is trying to rile up the crowd that we've got here in the bleachers right now.
Oh, as a bit of a response, they're into it as well. Sonar sending out the ping and getting a response back.
Hooray for audience participation!
And Wrecker
Multiplayer block penalty being called on Sonoma. And I interrupted you. I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, that's fine. Late breaking news.
The late breaking news now is Wrecker and her lead jammer status and her attempt to jump over the entire pack.
Yeah, and it looks like there was a penalty issued for blocking out of bounds. Looks like one of the Sonoma County blockers had their foot in bounds, which is what took Wrecker's momentum away and lent them to the ground. And a penalty was issued on that, but it looks like that blocker was in a bit of discomfort, so I don't know how that's going to wash out. No, there they go.
They're resilient. Bounce right back.
Yeah, if Wrecker jumped on top of me, I'm pretty sure I'd say more than ow.
So Sonoma came out on top of that jam despite Wrecker having lead jammer status. Second time we've seen that happen here in the last few jams. Wrecker had lead, but Sonoma took more points with 4, and Sitka took 3, 136 to 119 with 9.5 minutes left in the game, and we have a team timeout called by Sitka.
Yeah, Coach Comfy Couch came out and said, I think I need a bit of a time here. And as Sonoma has closed the gap quite significantly over the last period here, I think that's probably a wise reset for them, give them a bit more of a rest. I mean, the things have been going so far, a team timeout is 2 to 3 jams worth of rest for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And it warrants noting that the coach is actually not Coach Comfy Couch. That's just a term of endearment that we have. He's so comfortable with his team running things effectively on their own. I would call him Coach Don't Get in the Way, because there are some coaches who freak out and get in the way of players being as awesome as they can be. The coaches for Sitka are actually JD and Pebbles. The coaches for Sonoma are Izzy Sirius, Fuel Metal Gem, and Raging Reg. So thanks to our coaches, too, who make these teams function.
Yeah, now we're coming to a draw to the end of this timeout. And we have Rowdy Bowdit lining up against Wrecker again.
4-2 pack advantage for Sitka.
Yeah, I think that...
Ooh.
And Forum for taking down Wrecker there. Wrecker recovers, gets up, and gets lead jam. He is almost entirely a whole lap ahead of Rowdy there, who's still being successfully held back by Sonoma County.
Rowdy's being sandwiched right now.
By Sitka, yeah. Yeah, but like a good sandwich, just enough butter in there and everything slides through.
Nice.
And she's out and chasing down Wrecker with some speed. Rowdy's got some beans in it today. And the pack is speeding up like we've seen a few times when the jammers are chasing each other. Sonoma seems to be really good at picking up the pace and forcing Sitka into a slightly faster pace. But Wrecker says, nope, I need those points. And grabs 5 points. And with the scores these getting this much closer, 5-0, that actually swings momentum.
So I'm not going to try and math that because that's not my thing. And someone
25 points, no, what's 24
I'll
now?
trust you on that. You could tell me it was 30, and I would be like, yeah, sure, why not? Or 300. I don't math. And we have a quasi timeout, official timeout, as we are adjusting some points.
Yep, last minute point correction, so stopping the clock just to make sure everything is in order. And speaking of in order, Louisiana Slammer and Wrecker are both in full working order and working hard, trying to get through, get the coveted lead jammer, but that goes to Wrecker. Louisiana Slammer escorted gently to the outside.
I wouldn't call that gently. Is anything in Derby gentle? I mean...
Gentle for Derby, how's that?
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. It's a relative term.
Yeah.
That being said, Wrecker trying to get past that tripod of blue in the front. She grabs a grand slam as Sonoma is still trying to push their jammer through on that initial pass. 7.5 minutes left in the game. And we've got Sonoma sending a blocker to the box. That is number 128, the Boone Villain.
And they were set up for and took Wrecker down quite hard, prevented some of the scoring, but I guess it wasn't quite in a properly legal manner.
Well, no. And but Sonoma calling a perfectly legal timeout, and this timeout is brought to us by
the social media team for us today. The social media team's working feverishly all weekend. That includes today and tomorrow, and to bring you live tweets and Facebook coverage throughout the event. Tune in to Twitter and Facebook.
I love that we have such active fans in this game when there are two other amazing games going on. That's got to be something that's really hard if you come as an attendee and you don't have like a particular job like we do. When you come to these tournaments, there's so much good derby. 3 solid days of fantastic teams of all levels, juniors, men's, women's. How can you choose?
With difficulty. And the Sitka team here have solid fans. They've got little signs saying Sitka, so I guess they're going to be following the Sitka team around, regardless of how functional and fantastic the derby is everywhere else.
I just saw sit. I think the refs were blocking me, and I thought they were trying to tell Wrecker, take a break. Just sit down for a minute.
Well, that go up at different times, so I think they're sort of giving her that hint as well.
Wreck a shark. Hey, this is a new jammer for Sitka.
It is. What do we have? We have
number 25.
Titan Young. So Titan was didn't get out as lead, but has made good time into the pack. And we have more Sitka trouble. Everyone giving everyone trouble. People are just falling all over the place. It's like
This is
like a
when the
battlefield out
tired.
here.
This is when the tired starts to set in, and it starts to impact gameplay.
Yeah, Renegade's got a good, steady pace. Not too much energy used, but it was enough to get taken down to the ground fairly solidly there by Sitka.
25 points separate these two teams, 148 to 123.
Sitka in deep trouble now with only one blocker remaining on the track. There were some penalty issues with illegal contact and now some pack definition problems, leaving one, now two blockers. But meantime, the Sonoma County blockers are giving Titan a lot of trouble.
And Titan is on a scoring pass.
Yeah, and completed the scoring pass. Completed it twice as they sucked back into the pack. But a good 4 points here, bringing this jam currently to a 4-4 tie. But we know that Sonoma's sitting on some points, and another 4 points there indeed. 8 points to 4 in Sonoma County in the lead for that jam.
For that jam, but not for the game.
Yeah, jam every scoring trip, every scoring jam, every scoring period. Got to try to win it all.
So they've got about 5 minutes to close this point differential here, 152 to 127.
It's a 25-point gap that's been staying
still
fairly
25.
constant. Yeah, so
Speaking of constant, who's jamming?
I think it's Rekka. I can't tell. The number is so hard to read from this distance, and I'm not familiar with any of the people skating out here right
13's really hard to read from far away.
in the 2-meter size
Right.
font at the back.
The font size that's as tall as her. And Rekka did get out of that pack and was able to grab lead jammer's status. And now Sonar also out of the pack and eligible to score points. Rekka in control of that clock, though.
Calling it off, they've managed to successfully bleed all of the skaters that were had in the box out of the box, back up to a full strength, end the jam, started on a whole new fresh footing. Well, of course, 80% fresh because Rekka is out there.
There's only 8 of them, period. And look at Angel of Death jumping into the pack to play blocker. And for first time in a long time, we have an empty penalty box. But of course, now that I've said something, someone will inevitably go.
Yeah, well, Louisiana Slammer is the other jammer on the track right now. And again, we're seeing the blockers aggressively engage each other, trying to make holes for the jammers to get through. This is where we've seen a lot of penalties happen as they're trying to get the draw back. And because I've said that cancels out yours, and now there's going to be no penalties whatsoever.
So what happens now? A black hole forms
I think
somewhere?
it does. We end up with
An
a draw.
angel loses its wings? I don't know.
This game ends
What
in a tie.
happens?
Yeah, that's what it is. So Rekka is out, but not lead. Half a track behind Louisiana Slammer, who's scoring, but slowly, being escorted gently to the outside.
That was actually kind of a slow, graceful two-knee fall to the outside.
Yeah, that one was truly, especially in this period,
graceful.
gentle.
129 to 156.
Sonoma County using their last timeout, trying to stop the clock here. We've got 3 minutes or 2:57 remaining. And we have 27 points difference, so Sitka's been really slowly getting that lead in advance. But we have the Coach JD in talking with Rekka, who's lined up as if they're going to be a jammer again.
So there's a regular team timeout right now. Sonoma calling that one to regroup a little bit, say how can we really get those 25 points and then some, pull out a win.
Yeah, and given how quickly the jams have been going, there's probably 3 or 4 jams left in there, especially Sonoma does have their official review remaining as one more way to stop the clock.
So, but you know what? That's kind of it's a double-edged sword, because if you stop that clock to take time to think, you're also giving Rekka time to recover.
Ooh.
And to think, and I mean to breathe and to otherwise get stronger.
Yeah, maybe you want to be a little bird on the official review there. Here is the world's fastest official review from a coach. Penalty bad, fire pretty. No, wait.
Well, speaking of people that are doing impressive things, Wrecker, again, your lead jammer for Sitka.
Yeah, Rowdy about it, really having some trouble working through. Nearly got to the front, was escorted back. Escorted to the front again. This time, some offense from Sonoma cleared the way a little bit, and she's out for a scoring pass. And Jamarai sent to the penalty box there, leaving Sonoma down 2 for this next upcoming jam.
Well, and this is even more impactful as we get further into the game. 2 minutes left on the period clock. Sitka grabbed 10 points thanks to Wrecker on that last jam.
So that team timeout was also possibly giving Wrecker more
you.
time. Yeah, I think you got a point there. Maybe you don't want to burn that last timeout.
Don't just burn it. Like, do it purposefully. Now, granted, there's 2 minutes left on the game clock, so there's only so much that you can fit into that time period and so much recovery you can do.
Yeah, 12 jams, I think.
Yeah, exactly. We're in jam 21.
Yep, Sonar.
And big surprise.
Yeah, guess who it is? It's not Sonar lead, it's the other person. And it's Wrecker.
The person who, out of the 21 jams that we have played in this second half, has only not been jamming in 3 of them. 18 jams in a half. In a second half, no less.
Yeah, that's insane. That's so.
I want what she has in terms of energy. I know that's possible.
With all the practice requirements that comes with that.
No, seriously, I really don't.
Yeah.
Sonar out of the pack and eligible to score points. We will quit Gugu and Guy. I don't even know if that's a verb, but I did it. Over Wrecker and her amazing endurance. We have an official review called by Sonoma. It looks like they may be burning it as a timeout.
Yep, looks that way. And we have more of a rest for...
Again, that double-edged sword, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
looks like she did manage to get 4 points on that last jam.
It does. Now, last time Sonoma called a timeout, that gave Wrecker enough time to rest, and it was 10-0 in favor of Sitka, and that widened the gap quite significantly here, and we will see if at the end of this timeout we get a repeat of that and Sitka walks away with another 10-0 advantage, or whether Rowdy, who's currently wearing the stars, possibly the jammer coming out again, whether Rowdy will have had enough of a rest.
Sitka currently at 170, Sonoma currently at 129. Now, ever since Wrecker jumped back in here lately, she has scored in virtually every jam here in the latter portion of this half.
Yeah,
and that's widened that point spread a lot. 40 points is going to be tough to do in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and unsurprisingly, Wrecker's been fielded again after a rest. Unsurprisingly.
Yes.
But Rowdy's really putting her back into it there. Energetically whipping and blocking and getting whipped and coming around the corners, dancing on the inside, but being knocked down to the ground eventually. But Wrecker walking away with lead jammer.
And she just bounced off of an opposing blocker to grab that lead jammer status. She's now stuck behind that Sonoma box of blue in the back. 25 seconds left on the period clock. Wrecker is in control. And just like that, Rowdy Bout It gets through that pack, and Wrecker does as well with a little hop over the curve. Calls the jam, and I have a feeling Sitka's going to call a timeout. They want more? Sitka calling a timeout with 7 seconds left on the clock.
I think Wrecker had said to the coach, like, I want more. Give me as much derby as I can handle. I can take it.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I do like how the coach is escorting, and look at the smiles on Sitka's faces right now. This is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a team field so few people, not sustain any injuries, and I've never seen anyone with the endurance like Wrecker. Like, this is absolutely insane. I know we've been teasing a bunch, but it's purely out of admiration. And I love that one of her teammates just brought her a water bottle because she's not taking time to take a sip of water. So it's nothing but love. We're teasing her, but it's truly out of admiration.
Absolutely. And Whitefly's been given the chance by Sonoma for this last jam. Set up a long way behind the Sitka wall, trying to get a run up, maybe find a hole, or just bowl them straight over. And running into that wall, looked like bowling over was the plan. Didn't quite work, but Sitka has split their wall up, trying to run a bit of offense, which does get Rekka out front. And Rekka's coming in the back of the pack, but Wi-Fly has made it out and is on a scoring trip. Meanwhile, Rekka's been recycled to the back of the pack. The Sonoma County has got all their blockers back, and Rekka calls the jam. Last jam, a last-minute apex jump trying to score points, but didn't quite stick the landing before the whistles went. And Sitka has 2 points to none for Sonoma.
All right, so as much as we were oohing and eyeing over what Rekka did, let me break it down for numbers, okay?
Ooh,
so we had 23 total jams in that half, which 1 bunkers. 2, among those 23 jams, Rekka only didn't jam in 3 of them. So 20 jams out of those 20 jams, she grabbed lead jammer status 12 times. So she's more than 50% on lead jammer status acquisition. I don't think I saw her go to the box, but maybe. Oh, no, she did at the beginning.
Times.
At the beginning, she got up to about 5 penalties.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure if anybody fouled out. Nope, actually, that's not true. I see 3 Sonoma blockers in front of me right now that don't have gear on, which leads me to believe that they fouled out. So.
And the Boonvillian was definitely on the track earlier, and they seem to have de-geared, probably due to said foul out, although that doesn't stop them joining in the fun as they're running through, getting their high fives.
Of course not. They earned that. And talk about a win definitely earned. 8 players fielded from Sitka. And I know that this was a pretty evenly matched, relatively evenly matched on the rankings, but Sitka proving why they are about 40 spots ahead of Sonoma. But Sonoma, valiant effort, came within about 15 points, I think, at a couple of points, but then got stuck at that 25-point mark and really couldn't move it. So what are your thoughts, Dan?
Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but my thoughts are that the team that's on the up more is Sitka, and they've proved why they're higher ranked. Even though the strength factors are roughly the same, they've shown that they've got that dedication and endurance. And I wonder at what we would have seen had the other two skaters they brought with them were fielded. And Sonoma does seem in reasonable spirits. They came really close. There was a lot of effort all the way through. There was that fatigue we talked about that was starting to show. It really didn't become a huge factor through the entire game. So both teams put in a strong showing here.
Absolutely. And with that being said, we are going to bid you adieu for the evening. I have been Scarlett O'Hurria.
And I have been and continue to be Dan Under.
And we will talk to you all tomorrow. There is still a game going on track 2 if you need to switch your feet over. And otherwise, we'll see bright and early in the morning. We've got games on all 3 tracks starting at 10 a.m. So come back and see us here at Big O 2018.
#.